Subsequent to the completion of the command assignment on Parchi in May of 1988, I was privileged to be able to be assigned as the executive assistant to the Commander-in-Chief of the Pacific Command in Hawaii.
Oh, wow.
And I made the transition in the early summer of 1988 to that assignment in Hawaii. And as you can see, that was the first shore assignment that I had had at school since my since the company officer assignment back in 1975. So for about 15 years, I had been continuously either preparing for or actually executing missions aboard our submarine force. And so that was typical of the operational responsibility that my contemporaries had in the submarine force. We spent a lot of time at sea on board our submarines because we continued to grow our submarine force and we needed people to just operate them at sea. So today's submarine force, most of the officers go shore to sea to shore to sea, and that was not the case in our time in the Navy. But we were proud of what we had to do, and our families were supportive of that particular effort, thank goodness, and that allowed us to complete those missions. So for 2 years I was the responsibilities as being the senior advisor to a 4-star admiral who was responsible for our military forces of all services in the Pacific theater of operations. So we had the chance to travel extensively throughout the Pacific to Japan and Korea and to Australia and Malaysia and to Thailand and India. It was quite an extensive experience in what the diplomatic aspects of military leadership really represented. So subsequent to the completion of that assignment, I was then ordered to be the commander of Submarine Group 7, Task Force 74 in Yokosuka, Japan. Okay. And in that role I was responsible to operate all of the submarines in the 7th Fleet area of operations. So that was a fascinating period of time because this was between 1990 and 1992. It was the time of Desert Shield and Desert Storm. Right. It was a time when our submarine force had been equipped with Tomahawk missiles, ship-to-shore capability for these particular missiles. And it was the time as we were preparing for those where we had submarines under our control in Japan operating in the Red Sea in the Middle East. Okay. And we were responsible for those operations, and we had to establish the communications that were necessary to give them the launch order should they be required to launch as part of the conflict. And it turned out that we, from our headquarters in Yokosuka, actually gave the launch order for the first Tomahawks to be launched from the USS Louisville, which struck Iraq during that particular conflict. And this was a rather unique moment in submarine history because it was the first weapon that had actually been launched from a submarine in combat since World War II. Oh, wow. Because during the period of the Cold War, we had never actually launched torpedoes. We had them ready to launch, and we had never actually launched our ballistic missiles. So this was quite a remarkable and revolutionary moment of time in the submarine forces activities, and that Tomahawk weapon system has really become a valuable resource for the nation, both on surface ships and in submarines. So having completed that particular assignment, and during that assignment, that was when I was actually notified that I had been selected to be a Rear Admiral in the Navy. And so my command tour there in Yokosuka was terminated in the early part of 1992, and I came back to Washington, D.C. to take up my first flag assignment as a member of the CNO staff in Washington, D.C. It was my first Washington, D.C. assignment. Everybody jokes about the fact you don't want to have your first Washington, D.C. assignment as an admiral because you don't even understand how to get around the Pentagon, and that was certainly the case with me. So you learn rapidly what it means to be a member of the team in the Pentagon as you work to try and establish that. So I was in the Submarine Warfare Division's headquarters working on budgetary responsibility, establishing the capabilities to build our new submarines and to outfit our existing submarines. And that was a period of time, of course, in 1992 through 1994, where we were dealing with the impact of the fall of the Soviet Union and the post-Cold War implications to our budget, and the expectation that a lot of people had that there would be a Cold War dividend, and that we'd be able to stop spending money on defense equipment and hardware. And there was an awful lot of major decisions that were made at that particular time that had some long-term implications, including the cancellation of the Seawolf construction program. And that was a part of, we had a very ambitious program underway to build these extraordinarily capable platforms that could go very fast and that could go very deep and that were much bigger than we had ever built before in our attack submarine world. But that program was canceled, and literally we were able to salvage the submarine design and construction capability just by building 3 of those platforms instead of building a force of about 20, which had been the original plan.
Really?
Yeah.